talk.
Big Red.
Big 2 weeks. Oh, big. Well, yeah.
Big Red.
We didn't need to imply that.
I didn't. I was just, that's what they call me.
Listen.
Time for stories to start your morning. Last night, the Celtics beat the Lakers by a whopping 32 points. It was the Lakers' biggest loss of the season. And Kemba Walker, who was 0 for 28 in career games against LeBron, finally gets his first win against the King. Nick, what'd you make of last night?
It was terrible by the Lakers. They jumped out to an 8-0 lead and then just fell apart. I mean, they played well for about 90 seconds, and then they were bad the rest of the way. The Celtics were coming off a rough stretch, too. I think they had only won 2 of their previous 8, and they played sensationally. Now, I'm not going to overreact to this in the regards, Lakers hold 4-game cushion out west, and the Celtics, I already know. I'm going to get text already from our friend Chris Mannix. Oh, watch out for the Celtics. We know what the Celtics are. Their ceiling is to be the second-best team in the Eastern Conference, but that was a great game for them last night, and they continue. Once again, you continue to have Kyrie Irving leave places and go like this and go places and go like that. So that's a little subtext to it, but an awful game for the Lakers. And Anthony Davis didn't look like himself first game back.
No, he's coming back. He's got a little rust. This was the perfect storm that was brewing against the Lakers. Traveling on the road, playing in a spot on a holiday where they had come off this rough patch. This was the perfect storm where you just chalk it up to, you know what? They just had it going that day, and why at some point in that game, too, you do shut it down because you're sitting there trying to pace yourself for the long season. So I don't think there's much to take into it. Other than, I'm along with Chris Mannix. I think that does show you what the Celtics could be capable at their best.
All right, on to the Rockets. They blew a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter to Chris Paul and the Thunder. James Harden continues to struggle. Last night, he went a woeful 1 for 17 from 3. Houston has now lost 5 of their last 6 games. Nick, starting to worry about the Rockets?
Well, it ain't great. I had lunch with Daryl Morey Saturday before the Rockets-Lakers game, a game where the Lakers beat the Rockets handily with no Anthony Davis. James Harden had been, about 2 weeks ago, red hot, shooting like 48% from 3 on super high volume. Since then, he's shooting around 20% from 3. He's never going to lower the volume, but blowing this game when you are already in a rough patch, already have won those 4 or 5, at home, up 15 in the fourth quarter, that's terrible. It is a brutal loss for Houston, a Houston team that right now is the 6th seed out west and has some real work to do to gain ground. I picked a Lakers-Rockets Western Conference Finals for the year, Danny. I'll stick with that, but the Rockets need to do some tweaking, and James needs to get his shot.
It was the 1 of 17 from 3 was awful, historically bad for Harden, but I thought was more concerning were the 3 turnovers and 2 missed free throws in the fourth quarter when they are trying to close out this game. I think this team has some depth issues. Once you get past the 2 MVPs and a pretty promising center, there's not much around them. But this, to me, is more about it's that point of the season where you kind of hit that wall and it becomes a grind. And if Mike D'Antoni said, hey, it's bad, and when it's bad, it kind of snowballs against you. But everybody kind of wants to just get to the All-Star break at this point. Let us catch our breath. And I think it's never been more evident right now. This team needs a break, and it's not getting easier with Denver coming up next.
All right, moving on. Football now. Des Bryant wants back into the NFL, hoping to return to the field next season. Des hasn't played a game, mind you, since the 2017 season, and get this, he wants to play for the Dallas Cowboys again, saying, quote, give me the role they gave Witten. Danny, what do you think? Should Dallas actually consider this?
Heck yeah, they should. As long as he's healthy coming off that Achilles injury, why not? He's only 31. I think we forget that sometimes because he had such an impressive career and he's been out for a couple of years. You picture him, for whatever reason, I thought he was 34, 35. What's the worst case scenario? Bring him in there. Is he going to ruin the locker room culture or something? Is he going to bring in there and be a toxic element? No. I think you would want a player who at this point in his career is willing to do whatever it takes because he misses the game, which is a really harsh realization. I'd say bring him in.
Well, he's not going to be worse than Witten was. No. He's not going to give you less than Jason Witten gave you. And I know Jason Witten gets a ton of this, he's a great leader credibility that I've never totally understand. Now, Des obviously is not that. And part of me wants to see this only, what was it, Alfred in The Dark Knight said some people just want to watch the world burn. I got a little bit of that in me. I kind of just want to see, add Des Bryant to this and just see what the hell happens. But I don't, I feel like if Dez is healthy, is he good enough to be on an NFL roster? Yes. It's odd he hasn't been on an NFL roster. Saints brought him in, popped his Achilles. But if he's not on a roster next season, his career's over, which Jenna Wolf did predict 2 years ago.
It almost makes more sense with a new coach in there with Mike McCarthy.
Well, because he and Jason Garrett.
Exactly.
Of course. Absolutely.
All right, moving on to the Chiefs. Andy Reid has led KC to their first AFC title since 1970. He's been down to the Final Four 7 different times in his career, one of only 8 coaches in NFL history with 200 wins. But the only win that matters to him now is the next one, which would be his first ever Super Bowl win. His star tight end, Travis Kelce, has his back, though.
I love Coach Reid, man. He's definitely a part of the motivation. You know, we're sick of hearing what the media says about him, how he can't get the big one done. And you know what? We knocked one off the list, got the Lamar Hunt Trophy back here in Kansas City for the Hunt family, and you know what? We still got one more goal to knock off the list.
Nick, what do you think a Super Bowl win would do for Andy Reid's legacy?
Oh, I mean, he, to me, clearly becomes the second best coach of this generation, from 2000 to now, the last 20 years.
Behind Belichick.
Of course, yes, obviously. Behind Bill. Only one coach has, other than Belichick, multiple rings in the last 20 years. It's Tom Coughlin. I think Andy Reid is actually a better coach than Tom Coughlin, but it's hard to make the case when Tom's got 2, Andy's got none. But Tomlin's got 1, McCarthy had 1. You know what I mean? You go down the list. Holmgren, who coached in the 90s and the 2000s, as the 1 championship. It's hard to find a coach that would have a better resume if they win this championship. Don Shula, George Halas, Bill Belichick, Tom Landry, Curly Lambeau. That's the full list of coaches with more wins than Andy Reid, with a higher winning percentage than Andy Reid. It's just those 5 guys. One guy's got a field named after him. One guy's got the iconic hat. Belichick's the GOAT. Shula had the undefeated season. Halas also got a field named after him. Like, those are 5... That's the Mount Rushmore of coaches plus 1. Andy's the next guy statistically on that list. I'm not saying he's the 6th greatest coach ever, but a Super Bowl championship mints him as a no-doubt Hall of Fame coach and validates what has been a career, Danny, 21 years coaching, 15 playoff appearances, 14 double-digit win seasons, only 3 losing seasons, just a stellar resume with the 1 yeah, but that could be erased in 12 days.
I think I might have said yesterday he's a Hall of Famer even without this Super Bowl. I'm taking that back. Okay. I might take that back because I was, we were doing some research before, and you look how small the list of coaches in the Hall of Fame is, and it's one of the things that frustrates me the most in today's sports conversation, how much you need the championship to cement the legacy, to cement your reputation. And as much as I appreciate Travis Kelce getting out in front of it and saying, hey, I'm tired of hearing people say that, if you want to change the narrative, you actually have to change the narrative by proving people wrong and actually getting the win. Because unfortunately, people won't appreciate the consistency with which he's won, which might be more impressive than a lot of coaches who are in the Hall of Fame. When you consider the 15 out of 21 years, that is, you know how impressive that is? It is insane, the consistency with which you're getting your team in a position to win there. If he wins this one, it's a lock, though. And you know what his best argument is saying Bill Cowher just got in. Why wouldn't I? He's got well over 50 more wins than him. He would have equaled the Super Bowl total. And it's not, it's like that's your greatest case is saying, well, if he got in, you have to put me in, and he would. So I think a Super Bowl cements it. I think if he leaves it out, I think the narrative continues. As unfair as it may be, it's just what we do in the sports lexicon now.
But just quickly, because when we talk about Andy Reid, especially as the season gets closer to the end, we always talk about end of game mismanagement with the time, and we talk about the monkey off Andy Reid's back. We never talk about why he's such an incredible coach. Just give us a line or two. Make the case for him being a Hall of Famer right now.
Well, the case for it right now is the 15 playoff appearances, 14 double-digit win seasons, which is insane. He's got 5 years he was one and done in the playoffs, but he's got 4 years he won multiple playoff games. So to me, those almost cancel each other out. But the biggest non-playoff case is this. He's one of the greatest offensive innovators in the history of the sport. What he has done, and he has not always had Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
Right.
He got the Chiefs a bye with Alex Smith. Donovan McNabb was a very good quarterback. He got the absolute most out of Donovan McNabb. What he has been able to do with multiple quarterbacks in multiple situations, I think you saw it this year. They beat a playoff team with Matt Moore at quarterback in a game where the defense wasn't. It's not like they held him to 3 points. The way he designs plays, the way his players adore him, the way he is just one of the greatest offensive minds we've ever seen, that's the case absent of the Super Bowl.
And the coaching tree, if you look under him, is super impressive, and it should be added to with Eric Bieniemy. I'll just leave that out
100%.
there.
100%. All right, moving on. So